Good day and welcome to FDM, the channel dedicated to feather data models. Well, it's 20 February and I just want to give an update on the COVID figures and also look at what lies ahead. Here you see the figures for South Africa. Positive cases just reached 1.5 million, deaths close to 50,000, and there you see the figures. And as you can see, we had this first peak really during the hard lockdown, and then we had a second peak, and what's called the second peak, but really is the third peak here in December and January, when the figures ran up during the holiday season, but just as quickly, or even quicker, collapsed afterwards. And previously I thought this might mean or indicate the end of COVID. I was quite optimistic. The way this fell, and it fell so quickly, indicated to me that we may have reached the limit in terms of number of infections in South Africa. Now, what I did was to create this base scenario, or this baseline, at 1,600 cases a day, based on the average we saw during this time frame. And previously we didn't puncture this really. We stayed here, and I think all that happened is the pandemic spread geographically, and then eventually it erupted again. And I was hoping this time around we'll puncture this level and go back to zero. But it seems we're turning. If I look at the moving average here, it's sort of slamming on the brakes and slowing down, and it seems it's going to stop short of this base, and we may see another uptick here and a third wave. If we see that, I think that will be the last. I really think that will be the last, as I'll discuss in a moment. But that's the case for South Africa. If we go to our neighbor, to Namibia, this is what the figures look like. Over there, deaths are 399, positive cases 36,000, and there you see their first wave also coming back to some sort of a base. Here the base is at 45 people a day, going up just like we did, and coming down also like we did, not as fast, but coming down. But here, Namibia didn't even come close to the base. They've turned, and they seem to be building a third wave. They're building up for a third wave here. You know, looking at Botswana, that's the situation there. The figures are very low, 25,000 positive cases. But what I want to look at is this. This shows for the world the number of positive cases. Now, of course, if the number of positive cases reach around this level, 65%, then we've got herd immunity and the pandemic is all but over. The current threshold for herd immunity is estimated to be somewhere between 60 and 75%. I used 65% in this presentation. So we need to go to these sort of levels. Now, the number of positive cases is an underestimate. If I look at the number of COVID-related deaths and apply the infection fatality ratio to that, it goes up to this amount. Now, I also do an optimistic estimate. The fatality ratio is estimated between 0.5% and 1%. So there you see the 1% and the 0.5% levels. It's taken around 0.65%. So here for South Africa also you see, if I take the fatality ratio at 0.65, that's what I get. If I use 0.5, it goes up to that level. Now in South Africa, I think actually we are above this by quite a big margin. I think this is quite an underestimate. That's why I think we may have already seen the end of it. But, you know, if I look at the figures, we could also be building a third and what I think will be a last wave. Namibia still has a long way to go, as does Botswana. But we are getting there. South Africa is actually quite close to the finishing line. And to get there, we can also use vaccinations. in South Africa, we need about 30 million, 29 million vaccinations to take us from there to there, if we can vaccinate the ones that are not immune at the moment, and if the assumption holds that these ones that have had it already are immune. Now, if we reach that level, then we can open the borders, we can, because everybody is immune, or the herd at least is immune. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope we can get there through vaccinations and not through a third wave. And let's also hope that we are much higher, as I think it's easy to make a case for. Well, that's it for today. Thank you. See you next time.